Welcome to the Music Matters Gateway to Asia. My name is Jasper Donat. I'm the CEO of Branded in Asia, and we organize lots of virtual and live events, including Music Matters. We are going to take you on a whistle-stop tour of some of the key Asia-Pacific markets, which cover or combined deliver over 2/3 of the world's music-loving population. Those of you who've been to Music Matters before know that we are known as the gateway to Asian music business. Those of you who haven't been to Music Matters before will now know that we're known as the gateway to the Asian music business. Music Matters Gateway to Asia consists of a few leaders from China, Japan, Australia, Korea, India, and Southeast Asia, all asking some very high-level questions about their markets to give you an up-to-date insight into what's going on, what's not going on, and where the business opportunities lie. So the first session is North and Northeast Asia, China, Japan, Korea, three of the most exciting music markets on the planet today, and over 1.5 billion people. And so to kick this off, we're going to go to China first, where we are joined by Scarlett Lee, the CEO of Zebra. Scarlett, ni hao, ni hao. Where are you in the world today?
Ni hao, Jasper. I am in Beijing, and luckily we can travel around inside the country. So, China is big enough for us to travel and visit. It's great. We have very strict rules on traveling conditions. And business is, I would say, 95% back to normal. Restaurants are full, cinemas are full, and of course, live houses are full. We just had our May Day holiday. Now we are towards the end of the May Day holiday. We had, I think, more than maybe the whole country, more than 100 music festivals, and they all full. Like my good friends like Modern Sky, they are hosting maybe 10 festivals at the same time, and they sold their ticket in 1 hour. I guess after a long time of lockdown, everybody just want to go out. And so in terms of business, everything is great, and people has experienced incredible journey since last 2 years, but it's very good over here. I haven't been overseas since August, so I don't know what it's like in the rest of the Southeast Asia. Japan, I would love to go to Japan if we can.
We'll come to Japan in a minute, but tell us a little bit more about the local music scene. I mean, China is split into a number of different provinces, different languages. What are people listening to, and where are they? Is it streaming, and what are they streaming it on? But what music is really popular in China right now?
So for the last 2 or 3 years, I think the most popular music, probably around the world as well, is EDM. It's becoming very big, and people love to go to clubs. We have this show. It's called the Winter of Bands. It's a variety show. It has become very, very popular, but it's focused mostly on rock. So rock music has came back as well because of this TV show. And as always, the Chinese people love folk music. We have a big genre of folk music. So from the south, if you go to Canton, Shanghai area, is electronic music. It's very big, and hip hop, because they are very fashionable. In the north side, we are mostly a rock. Now a bit of also, I think, house music as well. And so it's a very big country. If you check out Douyin, which is the Chinese version of TikTok, you can see what is popular on there, because Douyin uses a lot of music, different kind of music, and it's also a good way of to have a referencing of what's popular over here.
It's interesting you mentioned EDM, because I think the last time I actually saw you in person was at your EDM festival in Zhuhai a couple of years ago. But
UK, yes.
Yes, of course. But on the digital platforms, what platforms exist? Are they local platforms? Are they international platforms? What's the setup in China?
Okay, so as you know, we have our own platforms. People don't use YouTube here. People don't use Spotify here. I would say 80%, 70 to 80% of the market is by QQ Music. And then we have the rest divided by NetEase and a bit of other streaming services. People now also using Douyin for music, but majority of the population uses QQ Music. And on QQ Music, you can see the top chart. It's like Chinese pop mixed with a bit of electronic and hip hop. So that's the direction of the modern Chinese music at this moment. For festivals, we have a lot of indie rock bands as well.
Now, this session is being produced for Canadian Music Week, so obviously most people watching it will be in Canada, North America, Europe. What final question for you, Scarlett, is what is the split in China between local music and international music?
Surprisingly, we have young people born after 95, I would say in their early 20s, born after 2000, are very, very internationalized. I have lots of friends and their children as well, and many of them listen to international music. So the rate of listening to international music is becoming very high. But because our population, as you know, is 1.4 billion people, so you need to look at which group, age group, and also gender. But there is a huge increase potential for the international music as well. But the rest of, if you look at the second, third, fourth tier city, we're still looking at the Chinese music as well. And interestingly, for the last 2 years, because the country has been shut down and the international artists cannot really travel to here. So they are not performing in China. So our live houses, venues is full of Chinese musicians, which many of them is not getting the same kind of attention they're getting now. And their performance fee has increased like 3-4 times. So the local demand for local music is increasing tremendously, and the artists are benefit from this special situation. But on the streaming side, as Jesper asked, we have an increased amount of interest in international music.
That's fantastic. Well, a great way to end our little snapshot into China. China is EDM is very strong, but a lot of other genres as well. You mentioned that it's pretty much all local platforms. QQ being the dominant platform there, but there is a very strong international market as well. It is that there is a lot of opportunities for international artists, but I think the most important thing that we hear here is that China is very much open for business. So Scarlett, thank you very much. Don't go away. We're going to see you again shortly, but we're going to go from Beijing. We're going to jump on a virtual plane and fly to Tokyo, where I believe we have Taka Suzuki is waiting for us. Taka, how are you? Konnichiwa, Taka, how are you?
Konnichiwa, Jasper. I'm good, very well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. So thank you very much for joining us in this extremely high level look at Asia. As I said, trying to look at what I believe is now it is the world's second largest music market, Japan, right? So in a very short space of time, but really at this high level, tell us a little bit about Japan. What's going on in Japan with the music market there, and what are people listening to, and are people performing live?
Yep. So Japan is the kind of a group of the island formed one single country, and most language is Japanese. So the music taste is mostly Japanese, and we are Asian country, and the 20% of the population is higher than the 70s. So, and music market in Japan, recording music market in Japan is in 2020 was down mostly 10% than the previous year, and the physical impact was hugely bad. And but the streaming is really increasing, like about 40% than previous year, and then physical 10% down. Download is struggling, and it down by the 16%, this 16%. So now the Japan is a really physical market, like 70% stands physical products, but digital is growing. However, there is a little bit kind of a tricky things in the Japanese market, like there is a pricing gap between the CD and the monthly subscription fee. I believe the other countries' monthly subscription fee is like same pricing for the one CD, but the historically Japanese CD is 3,000 yen, like $30, and monthly subscription fee is $10. So there is a 3 times gap between the monthly subscription. So I think that this tells how the slowing digital transformation from the previous market shape. But I believe the consumer behavior is hugely changing, especially in quarantine and stay home period in 2020.
So what genres are hot in Japan right now? What are people listening to?
Yeah, it's now of course J-pop, but the J-pop is a really broader genre. Is like which includes kind of 3 types of the music styles, like folk based in electronic beats, and the folk with the hip hop beats, and it's like just folk. It's a melodious, and still for Japanese girls group, boys group is a really huge. And they've started to kind of a more aggressive digital approach to the Japanese market. So now they are still they're really active and they're really huge in Japanese market. But in 2020, the more kind of a bedroom artist who creates the music with the computer in their bedroom or the studying room, whatever. But they are really now the really popular with in the YouTube, and they broke in the YouTube, and they are really popular in the streaming services.
So you mentioned that streaming has where Japan used to be a very physical market. That's on a decline. Streaming's coming up. Are people streaming on local services or international services, or YouTube, Spotify, or what's the deal there?
Yeah, so there are 5 major streaming services: Apple Music, Line Music, and Amazon Music, and Spotify, and YouTube. YouTube is, of course, there are huge free users, but also the premium user is still growing.
So and then you mentioned that a lot of people, or most people, are listening to Japanese music. It's no surprise there. It's the local language. But what's the split? What's the ratio with international music? Because Japan, when bands are touring, they have to go to Japan, right?
Yeah, of course. So when it comes to the kind of the market number, according to the RIAJ, it's there is only the numbers from the physical products, but domestic is 97%, and just only 3% come from the international music. However, also the major population age population in Japan is over 40. So like me, it's who has a really kind of a taste for a more kind of internationalized. So also those population have money to spend more music, but not into the kind of a physical products, but also the streaming and reissue products, is also the live touring. So yeah, I believe so that there are lots of demand when we back to normal, also we would like to welcome more the international artists touring to Japan.
Fantastic. Now you mentioned live, and obviously, Japan's got a rather large sports event coming up later in the summer. But are bands performing again now, or are they still locked down?
Yeah, still kind of a lockdown, and major cities in Japan is in the state of emergency right now. So we've been some live, some festival has done with the 50% capacity limited restriction, but now the no audience has been advised by government. So there's been really struggling and tough situation right now. Maybe after we got vaccinated, maybe I don't know until the maybe end of this year.
Okay, so Taka, thank you so much for a very, very quick introduction to Japan, the world's second largest music market, I believe. We're going to come back to you, but we're going to jump on our virtual aeroplane and fly now to South Korea. Bernie Cho, the CEO of DFSB. Where in the world are you today, Bernie?
I am actually here in Seoul, Korea, sitting in my office with my dog, who is just chilling at the moment.
Clearly very interested to find out more about the South Korean music market. Now Korea is hot. I mean, K-pop is at the top of everything at the moment, and you must be loving that, because you personally, I know, have been pushing the Korean market for many years. But tell us a little bit more. What's going on actually in Korea at the moment?
2020 was really a very pivotal year for K-pop, not just creatively, but commercially. As we saw during the award season, pretty much BTS was here, there, and everywhere. Blackpink's been making a lot of noise, and we're starting to see more and more Korean music artists make a lot of headway and a lot of headlines, not just in North America, across Asia, but now Europe as well. And as you probably well know, the IFPI just came out with their 2021 Global Music Report, which was the year in review for 2020. And, although COVID, really took a hit for many industries and many sectors, and definitely the music industry, we saw a pickup when it came to streaming music. But obviously the live music scene really suffered. But Korea found sort of a lot of new, exciting, innovative ways to not only rebound, but to slam dunk sort of a lot of these kind of lemon situations into making it very tasted lemonade solutions. And so, for instance, what was really fascinating about Korea was it was the fastest growing music market in the world last year, according to the IFPI. I'm just going to read off my notes here because there's just so many impressive numbers. But streaming did incredibly well. It did about 24% year-on-year growth, paid music streaming. But video streaming increased by over 200% last year. And then this shocker is that LP sales increased by over 150%, and CD sales increased to the point of 84.2%, which put Korea for the first time ever as the second largest physical music market in the world, behind Japan. So in 2020, Korea actually surpassed the United States for most CDs sold. And although Korea came in strong for the fourth year in a row as the sixth largest recorded music market in the world, it just blew a lot of people away in the industry to show and to see that it had 44.8% year-on-year growth.
That's amazing, Bernie. So everyone around the world seems to be listening to K-pop. What are people listening to in Korea? Is it Korean music, or is there international music in there as well?
Well, what's interesting is the Korean government actually has been incredibly detailed in their analysis and analytics of the Korean music market. Korean pop culture, and we're including video games, TV, film, music, cartoon characters and web cartoons, is actually now the third largest export industry for Korea. And, you know, obviously, as you mentioned, K-pop is something that's become very synonymous with the image of Korea. Currently, when we look at the top 200 streaming chart for 2020, the breakdown was roughly about 82% local Korean music and 18% international music. But the Korean Ministry of Culture did a survey, and again, the survey that they did among music consumers reflected almost to the decimal point the same exact numbers. About 83.6% were into K-pop, 12.4% into pop music that's sung in English, and J-pop had 2.2% market share. But when the government rephrased the question in terms of what are your two most favorite genres, this is where things got interesting. 95.3% obviously replied K-pop, but a phenomenal whopping 73.7% of people replied that English language pop music was among their favorite genres. And so that is an exciting development. We hope to see how it manifests itself post-COVID.
And then final question around Korea is are bands performing live again? Yeah, are they allowed out?
At the moment, although Korea was really good with COVID detection and social distancing, unfortunately, Korea has been very slow when it's coming to the rollout of vaccinations. And so unfortunately, a lot of plans for concerts, tours, and festivals are constantly getting delayed from spring to summer to fall to possibly maybe even early next year. But in the meantime, Korea has been extremely active and aggressive in the live streaming space. We've had a lot of homegrown local solutions not only do incredibly well here in Korea, and in fact, whether it was BTS or Super M or other big K-pop artists who were shattering viewership and ticket sales records, some of these solutions are now making their way stateside. The live streaming solution that BTS developed with a company called Kiswe in the United States, they now have a new joint venture with Universal Music. And, you know, one of the big things that people are looking forward to for 2021 and beyond is not only the new name for Big Hit Entertainment, the home of BTS, their new name is called HYBE. They now have a new joint venture with Universal Music, but recently they acquired Ithaca Holdings, Scooter Brown. So moving forward, BTS, J Balvin, Ariana Grande, and Justin Bieber are now all part of the same family, HYBE, H-Y-B-E. Look out for it.
Fantastic. Well, Bernie, thank you. It's key that, you know, it's clear that Korea is very exciting right now. Also winning Oscars a couple of weeks ago as well. So you know, Korea is hot when it comes to culture, when it comes to creativity. Now we're going to have all three back for a couple of minutes. This is I think it's 1.6 billion people represented by three individuals in this group. And I'm going to ask one more question, because we've talked about scale. We've talked about how, you know, various markets are very local, but also in different ways there's a very good opportunity for international music. Life is very much around streaming at the moment, albeit China, everyone's jealous of China because 95% open for business. So understanding all of that, I'm going to start with you, Scarlett. What is the single most exciting thing for the Chinese music industry right now?
Well, to be honest, the most exciting thing is the local artists is really coming out, because for many years we have a lot of musicians, but the music, you know, I've been in this industry for many years. For the last 10 years, I don't see very, very impressive musicians, but the last 2 years, I see a lot of good musicians arising from China. And because of this special situation, they're getting exposed, they are getting a lot of opportunity to perform, and also there are a lot of returnees from overseas, young Chinese musicians. So this is very exciting. And on top of that, as I mentioned before, we do see a great increase in the understanding of international music, especially English genre. And of course, Korean music, K-pop, has been very, very popular in China for the last 10 years. It's, for most of young people, they love K-pops. But for me, the most exciting part is because we see very promising, great musicians from local as well.
Fantastic. Taka, same question to you. In Japan, I mean, Japan always one of the coolest countries on the planet. What is the most exciting thing happening in the music industry in Japan today?
Yeah, today the most exciting thing is also the next generation artists are really coming up. Very big numbers line, like every week. So new anonymous artists coming up from the YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. So this is really interesting and exciting moment to see the really kind of a new sense of the new taste of the kind of a diverse artists and creativity. And also now we are seeing the really more kind of a global collaboration, especially with the Korean people and the music business people, like girls group called the Niziu is a Japanese girls group, but produced by the K-pop management JYP. And J1 is a joint venture with Yoshimoto, Japanese, the biggest management company with CJ. So I think that those kind of a global collaboration is a really key to break the Asian market for us. And I think that this is really exciting. And now I feel the Japanese music industry are really kind of more open to those kind of things. And the final thing is kind of a NFT, which is really kind of a blockchain-based collectibles for not only for the music, but this is a really exciting opportunity for Japanese artists as well. Like artists like Baby Metal has launched the digital trading cards with their visuals. And also that this is really, for us, this is really exciting opportunity to cross-border more value-added products to be purchased or enjoyed. So this is really unique way for the music and the artist consumption in a global basis.
Brilliant. Who would have thought 10 years ago someone would be talking about how exciting Japan and Korea collaborating would be? Because 10 years ago there was two tribes, right? But Bernie, final to you. What is really exciting in Korea today?
As much as there's a lot of excitement about Korean music exports and Korean both creative and commercial collaborations, whether it be with major artists or major international labels, one of the really sort of fascinating disruptive trends currently happening right now in Korea is in the DSP, in the digital music platform space. For the longest time, Korea's digital music market was very much dominated by local DSPs. And in many ways, the DSPs here in Korea are not just simple digital service providers. They are very much hybrid, premium, diverse services providers by virtue of being the content platform, the content producer, and the content provider. But what we've started seeing is, I think in large part, really to the success of Netflix in Korea, where not only has it gotten a huge amount of traction and subscriptions in the local market, but has really been seen as a launchpad for Korean scriptwriters, actors, and directors to go global. And now we're starting to see international music platforms making waves in Korea. YouTube Music has quietly become the fastest growing music paid subscription platform in Korea, similar to what we saw with Netflix. Within, I would say, 25 months, their user base has increased by 5x. And one of the biggest news that's occurred over the past few months is the arrival finally of Spotify into Korea. And it was not an easy entry for Spotify, but they came in hard, they came in strong, and there's a lot of hype and a lot of hope that platforms like Spotify, which have been tremendous for helping K-pop go global, will find a space and really a place in the local Korean music market.
Fantastic. Well, with that, 1.5 billion or 1.6 billion people. I would just like to say, xie, thank you so much, Scarlett. Arigato, thank you so much, Taka. And I'm definitely going to get this wrong, but kamsahamnidas to you, Bernie, in Korea. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
That sounds about right after a few rounds of soju. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's what it usually is.